this that was issued to you. Just skim read it and mark it. This is the little piece of the text here, and mark it according to this rubric. Get an idea in your head where you would. When does our time start? Has it started already? Okay. I'm Lindsay Clowes from Women's and Gender Studies. This is my colleague Sisa Ngabaza, also from Women's and Gender Studies, and we've been marking using Turnitin's grade mark facility for the last 2 years. We just want to talk to you a little bit about how we are doing that. Thanks, Sisa. So what we thought we would do is ask you to evaluate something and then show you how it actually works. Can you hear me now? Okay. So if we go online and we'll click on, this is my assignment. You can see I plagiarized it here. I'm assuming that people are in fact familiar with Turnitin. So what we ask students to submit, we don't give them a similarity index to aim for, because the minute you tell them they must aim for 15%, they switch their brains off, and 15%, if they're 14%, they're happy, if they're 16%, they're in a panic. So we lead them to be in a state of panic at all times. They must take ownership of they must be able to defend it. If it's 22%, that's fine, if they can defend it. So instead of clicking on originality, we click on grade mark. And I'm going to hand over to Sisa now. There's 3 of us that mark this, 4 of us in fact, that mark this all at the same time. So you look at I'll hand it over to you, but we have the rubric online. Students have access to the rubric. They submit the essay online, and then we log in from wherever we are. Somebody's sitting in Plettenberg Bay marking. There.
Oh, okay. To mark the script that has been uploaded on Turnitin, first of all, we go to the icon that I've placed the pointer at. Our rubric is going to be indicated as C8 there. As you can see, because we are already using this module, we have a number of rubrics that we are already using. So for today, we're going to use this one for marking the task that is before us there. So we go down to quick marks there, and then our quick marks are capital letters, spelling, full stops are needed, and comments. And
slow down. Go on to one of those. If you see capital letters here, the text in that is under here. So we populate these. We make them and we populate them. We have a library for each assignment.
So if I place my cursor on there, you're going to see that in this box further down there, it gives you the details of what is contained under each comment. For example, under spelling, we have proofread your work to eliminate spelling errors. Under full stop, remember to use full stops at the end of your sentence. And under capital letters, capitalized letter is needed. Capital letter is needed at the start of the sentence. So how then do we mark the work? What we merely do is you go on to the...
Click on the rubric.
Before I get to the rubric, let me get the quick marks first. So we go to the assignment, and all you do is, if there's a spelling error, say addressing there, I will just drag spelling there, or simply click there, and then write a comment on the box that is reflecting there. And then how do we then grade the assignment at the end? We go to the rubric, which is already uploaded on Turnitin, and the rubric reflects there. So how then do we apply the rubric? All we do is, for capital letters, if we realize that the student hasn't been using capital letters at all, then the student is going to get 1. But if
this is the rubric that you have. So if you thought this is all making sense,
right?
Okay.
So you just give the student 1, which is the lowest mark there on the rank. And if the student has done very well capital letter wise, the student gets all the 4 marks of the rubric, and the student gets 4. Sentence ends, if there is no challenge, or if the student has done very well there, you give them either 3 or 4, depending on how you have graded or indicated it in the rubric. Same applies to the spelling. You give the student, if the student manages to get all the maximum marks for the rubric, they can easily get 100%, and this 100% is indicated right below there. All you need to do is apply a rubric percentage, and then the percentage will be reflected up there.
Do it.
Rubric percentage is 100% because the student has scored all the maximum marks are in the rubric grade.
Okay. So what? Give me that. Thank you. Okay. So just to sum up, in the light of what Professor Levac was talking about earlier, and we have gabbled through this because 10 minutes is not very long. Does this change the way in which is it more of the same, or does this change the way we mark? And it does a number of things. The first one is that, first thing is that it saves a huge amount of time. We don't have to accept submissions. Students submit online. There's a record of when they submitted. Nothing ever gets lost. All the marks are automatically calculated. They're downloadable, and we just upload them then onto Mass. So there's a huge amount of time is saved, which frees up time to focus on feedback. So what you have on the other side of this is a real rubric. This is a real rubric for a particular assignment that students are writing at the moment. And the emphasis here is on writing as a process. So students have done this assignment once, and they're redoing it as we speak. They're going to be handing it in again, I think, on Monday. So what this online allows us to do is to be much more consistent with our marking, because there are 3 or 4 markers. They're all using the same library of comments, of drag and drop comments. There's less time on the admin. There's more time on the important stuff. So the same markers are marking the same students. They have a list of names. So they go on to Turnitin and they pick the same 25 names or whatever it is each time. So first assignment, second assignment, third assignment. I get, as the course convener, I get an overview of all those comments. I know what the library is. I know what the issues are. So I can offer group feedback. It's easy for me as a convener, if a student comes and queries a mark, to go online and see what the comments are and to say, okay, well, you got a 2 for this. You need to push yourself up to a 3. That's talking about spelling, or it's talking about referencing, whatever it is. So the students are given those comments and evaluations in terms of rewriting. They're expected and required to rewrite. And the first mark will be dropped if they get a better mark on the second one. So that we use it as a form of formative assessment. We always have access to the earlier comments, so I can check back first and second iterations of any piece of writing, so can Sisa. We can check that at any time. We can personalise comments. What Sisa didn't say, because we were gabbling through it so quickly, is that we can put a voice note at the end. So we can say to a student, you know, you did really well on this, very impressed with this, because you made a huge improvement on the earlier piece of writing. So we can personalise it. We can also, we don't have to do drag and drop comments. We can make personal comments, and we can make in-text comments on that, on the writing that's
and
there.
the icon that we use for the in-text comment is the T. There, instead of the quick mark there, we go on to the T, and then you can go on to indicate to the student what you think about what they have presented.
And students have access to all of this. So they go in and they can check, and it's again saved. There's no possibility of it being lost. They can take this to the writing centre. So we've hooked up with the writing centre, who also have these rubrics, who also have access to all of this, so they can help the students rework, because that is required.
Also, the other thing about this process of grading is that traditionally we usually grade students against each other. But with this kind of grading, students are graded against the rubric, not against their colleagues.
So they do really badly on the first piece of writing, but they get better. Yeah. Just to say that we're doing this with the support of CIECT and Norina in particular. Thank you for all the help that you've given us over the time. And what you might also see here is something called Peermark. And we're currently experimenting with Peermark, because in terms of, does this revolutionize our teaching? In some ways it doesn't. It does it facilitates some sorts of changes, but that's in the context of a whole range of other changes that we introduce on the course. So I think that it is transformative in the long term. Peermark offers another set of facilities where we have the students actually evaluating their own or each other's work. So we're test driving that at the moment. We did it earlier this year with a small group of postgrad students, 6 or 7 postgrad students. This group today, it's about 130 or 140 students, and they will be each, on Monday morning, they will be receiving 2 assignments that they will be expected to evaluate through Turnitin. So the possibilities are really interesting. You know, we think of Turnitin as just similarity index, but actually it's way more than that.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much. A question?
Would you offer our social workers some training? We struggle with report writing.
Oh, you just need a rubric. You need a good rubric.